As someone who deals with PMDD myself, my main question all these years has been, why does it happen?
See the new girl vibe, she in her stride. She goes side to side, she goes tap, 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 tap.
Hey guys, it's your girl Miss Annie J, and today I wanted to discuss overcoming PMDD and my journey to recovery through understanding why it actually happens to me in the first place. And I've got some interesting things to share with you guys. It has been researched that women with PMDD have extra brain sensitivity to the changes in the hormones during our luteal phase of our menstrual cycle, the period after ovulation but before we have our actual period, which is when we go through our PMDD symptoms. It isn't the changes in the hormones themselves that cause PMDD, but our brain's reaction to these changes. My question was, why does PMDD happen? One of the causes that have been researched when it comes to this condition is the prevalence of early life trauma in premenstrual dysphoric disorder. Now, I will pop this link that I'm about to read from in the description box below in case you want to check it out yourself. But in summary, and this is from the National Institute of Health, in summary, a study was conducted, and I'm going to just paraphrase and power through the findings. So they state, early life trauma is a risk factor for many mental disorders. However, there is a lack of research exploring early life trauma in premenstrual dysphoric disorder. This descriptive study that was carried out was aimed to determine the prevalence of early life trauma in women with PMDD and characterize type and age of trauma experience. Data for 100 women diagnosed with PMDD was extracted from the Monash Alfred Women's Mental Health Clinic database. Experience of early life trauma was subclassified into 4 types: physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, and/or neglect, and 4 age groups: 0 to 5, 6 to 10, 11 to 14, and/or 15 to 18 years. 83% of women with PMDD from the study that was conducted had experienced early life trauma, with emotional abuse being the most common. So their results suggest a strong association between early life trauma and PMDD. So then I started to reflect on my early childhood and the difficulties that I endured during those tender years of my life. I experienced bullying and name-calling throughout my school years and became a very angry individual as a result, because I would just internalize how I was feeling. And as I'm going through these, I want you guys to see if you are starting to make out the correlation that I ended up concluding. Anxiety was a big issue for me from early in my childhood, because I was constantly on the alert, always looking out to see if somebody would throw a derogatory comment in my direction, if kids would make fun of me because I was born with cleft lip and palate. And this high level of anxiety that I experienced throughout my childhood led to a difficulty in me being able to concentrate on things and being very forgetful. Forgetfulness has been a big part of my life, even from when I was a child. But in a way, I felt like forgetfulness subconsciously was a coping mechanism of my brain, because I wanted to forget all of those difficult periods that I experienced as a child growing up. The bullying, the name calling, and all the associated feelings that came with it. I was so emotionally sensitive to rejection as a child because I was so used to people rejecting me based on how I looked. I would use comedy and humor, basically my personality, to win over friends, because I felt that that would be the only way that I would make friends, and that people wouldn't want to be friends with me based on how I looked alone. I was raised in a single parent household and things were difficult. Aside all the drama that I went through with my school life, my dad had left the country when I was 7 and my mum was really struggling to keep us afloat. The eviction notices, bailiffs coming to our doors, that was a normal part of my childhood. These experiences just became a regular occurrence for me. So they were things that I just always anticipated and expected. And as you can imagine, it did not help with my level of anxiety. I also went through 7 medical operations from day 6 of my birth into this world, right up until I was 19 years old. I had 7 operations because of my cleft lip and palate. God bless all the doctors, nurses, surgeons who took part in helping to transform my deformity so that today I could really love and enjoy my smile. And I don't stop smiling, by the way. I hope you guys have noticed that. But back then, going through those operations, guys, it was traumatic as a child. Hospital appointments were constant. Every time we'd go to the hospital, I'd see other children who had even more severe deformities than what I had. And honestly, as a child, being exposed to all of that, it was traumatic for me. I always thought I was unattractive because of the name calling, what people would say to me. I developed low self-confidence and body dysmorphia as a result of those things. I started to hate myself. I hated the way I looked. I hated the fact that I was born with this deformity. I hated my smile. I hated my nose. I hated pretty much everything about myself. Then at a certain point, in fact, at 2 certain points in my childhood, when things got to a real and ultimate low, I then exhibited suicidal tendencies, unfortunately. And the reason for that was I saw it as a means of escape from a life that I did not feel happy in. A life that to me as a child was emotionally difficult. It was painful, and I would do anything to be able to escape from that type of life. It's possible now that you can see where I'm going in terms of the link that I have made with this research that has been done about the prevalence of early childhood trauma in women who deal with PMDD, and then looking at the emotional damage that I went through as a child, the characteristics that I displayed as a child, the anxiety, being depressed, feeling suicidal, feeling rejected, feeling overwhelmed, feeling like life was meaningless, and then mirroring that to what I go through with PMDD. Guys, I think you can see where I'm going with this. Reflecting and looking in detail at my childhood has given me a massive amount of insight into PMDD and why I ended up having to deal with this condition once I became of menstruating age, and the connection between my childhood trauma and the emotional symptoms that I experience with PMDD. Guys, if you want to know the detail that I have gone into about the correlation of the condition and my childhood and how that has brought me so much insight and emotional and mental freedom, then be sure to make sure that you check part 2. Be sure to subscribe, and it will be available a week from publishing this video. It's your girl, Miss Annie J.
It's a bright new day. You're here with your girl, Miss Annie J.
Oh, no, scrap that, Annie. Delete that bit.
I'm gonna give them what they want, cause I came to slay, and nothing's ever gonna take my joy away. I'm about that